start our meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Bowling, can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bernuti.
Present.
Commissioner Martin.
Present.
Commissioner Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Present.
Commissioner Willis.
I'm here.
Commissioners Goodwin-Dye, Commissioner Griffiths, and Commissioner Gruber are all excused, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements or communication?
None at this time.
To the chair,
Yes.
motion to approve the agenda as provided.
Second.
Can we have a vote? All approve?
Aye.
Any any opposed? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rowland, are we looking at, so we're going to, first item is 24412 Southfield Road.
Yes, sir. So we have a rezoning, a conditional rezoning, and the site plan review. Address is 24412 Southfield Road. Currently, it's zoned OS Office Service. They are proposing to rezone it to B3 General Business with certain conditions on restrictions of use. The goal is to rezone the vacant parcel and construct and operate a new oil change business. So as you see, we have the current zoning, OS with some residential to the east, general business to the south, and office service across the street and to the north. Future land use, local mixed use, and then moderate density single family. This would be in line with the master plan. As I said, the conditional rezoning has a list of excluded uses that the owner is proposing. So these excluded uses would be everything from adult marijuana retailers, alternative financial services such as pawn shops, assembly halls, auto and truck agency sales, concert halls, drive-in and fast food restaurants, funeral homes, gas stations, hotels and motels, kennels and pet daycare, marketing and sales of lawn furniture and playground equipment, medical marijuana facilities, motor vehicle washing, either conveyor or non-conveyor type, open air displays and sales of motorhomes, camping trailers and other vehicles, open air sales or plants, religious institutions and similar places, sexually oriented businesses and cabarets, shelters for the homeless, small box retail, smoking lounges, soup kitchens, and theaters. These are all listed as excluded uses in this rezone. Aerial of the current site, it's been currently vacant for a number of years. Previously there was a proposal back in 2002 that obviously never went through. Existing conditions in the survey. Site plan, as you recall, this was in front of you guys a couple of months ago. The petitioner came back, he made some improvements based on yours and council's recommendations. He extended the green belt to the east that was adjacent to the residential homes. He also added a island here at the entrance to do right turn in, right turn out only to help with any traffic issues going in and out of Southfield Road. We have a delivery plan, the path of the van to either deliver parts or pick up the oil that is stored. Previously, traffic has been brought up as a concern. So the department looked into the Institute of Transportation Engineers, who do this thing all the time. They do it for a living, studying the trip generation for different businesses and from weekdays to weekends. And so what we found for oil changes is that an average trip for an oil change facility on the weekend, or for the weekday, is about just over 5 trips per hour, and that equates to just over 40 trips per day. Typically, oil changes are closed on Sundays, so on a Saturday, again, just over 5.25 trips per hour, with a reduction down to just under 40 trips per day. Peak hour of street traffic, 3.5 trips per bay, with the 3 bays on site. And then peak hour generation is 5.2 trips. As I said previously, the site includes a right turn in, right turn out only entrance and exit. And as far as parking, ITE recommends 2 to 3 spaces per bay based on 2 parking spaces per service bay. And within the city's ordinance, we have 2 parking spaces per service bay and then an additional space for each employee. And as I said, I got this from the ITE website. We have the elevations. This has stayed the same throughout. Just over 17 feet from bottom to top. South and north elevations on the residential sides. As you could tell from the site plan, there is only the one exit and entrance from Southfield Road. There's no pathway to get onto the residential street from the property. Floor plan, we have the 3 bays. We have the cashier's office, a little storage area, and then bathroom and a little waiting area down here at the bottom. And then the staircase to the basement that the workers will use to help service the cars. We do have the petitioner here, so I'll invite him up to make any comments.
How you guys doing?
Thank you. If you could give us your name and your current address.
Okay. Ali Isa, 25538 Graceland Circle, Dearborn Heights, Michigan.
And could you, if you could add to the comments, if you could kind of make sure we have a full picture of what you're trying to do here.
Okay. I think you pretty much covered it, but so the main issues over the course of the past year that people kept bringing up was the traffic about the left turns and stuff. So we went to the Oakland County Road Commission, and we worked with the lead inspector there, and he told us if you do a, one way in, one way out, he'll approve it for us, and we took care of that. The environmental aspects they were bringing up at the last meeting, we brought our representative from the oil company who's been in this business for over 100 years. He can shed a little bit more light on that. And then the last thing was the green belt in the back. We took away another 5 feet and added more greenery, like those landscaping trees and stuff.
If I could, through the chair.
Yes.
Just to follow up on the environmental concerns about contamination, can you explain your oil trap system and your recycling and that gets pumped out? And can you go through that process? Because I know that's a valuable commodity for you to use, to reuse or recycle the oil. But I know that the city has standards for oil and sand trap, and then you guys pump it out and recycle it. So if you could explain that it's not going into the sewers or contaminating the site, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, correct. Zach Rowley, 13148 Talbot Lane, Huntington Woods, Michigan. I'm with Rowley's Wholesale. As you mentioned, we've been in this industry for well over 100 years at this point, and fourth generation. And there were 2 kind of environmental questions addressed. One regarding specifically on the oil and what goes into the facility and comes out. Couldn't have described it better the way that you went in there. Our company is in the wholesale distribution business, so any oil coming into the facility is coming through as an API licensed product, is up to the standards and specifications. A lot of times today, will already contain a little bit of recycled oil back through the stream because that is so important to our industry. We're surprisingly green for being referred to as the oil industry. Products that are brought into the shop are drained. Those are going to go down a pan, be collected into a waste oil collection system. That goes into a tank, and spot on again that it is a valuable commodity itself. So there's very little incentive to let any of that go to waste. That itself is a revenue generating function to collect that and make sure it gets to the proper recycling areas. It is not just local city governed, it is also governed at the state level. No different than Weights and Measures is very concerned with making sure that licensed product is making its way into shops. API as well as Weights and Measures in the state of Michigan have identified, that we have a very high percentage of unlicensed, and we'll call them less than above board actors, especially in the Metro Detroit area, very heavily. And this is a wonderful opportunity to bring in somebody who, between them and our partnership with them, make sure that product is licensed, brought in licensed vehicles that are inspected, maintained, kept free of leaks. That's at the delivery section, so that the product is then serviced in the facility, which is collecting the oil directly under the vehicle, has oil water separators and other things in case there was ever an accidental spill. You don't have those if you do something at your garage. It spills on the floor and somebody hoses it off, and off it goes into your wastewater system or whatever else might be here. These facilities avoid that. And because of different rules available at Weights and Measures, as well as I would be very confident that the city of Southfield maintains that right as well, is that you have the ability to come in and ask them to provide their records in which they can show. We brought them 1,000 gallons of oil to be able to service vehicles, and 1,000 gallons of oil left on a licensed recycler, of which we have partners that can provide that information, left. So you're able to verify on both sides. It's not perfect down to the hundredth of a gallon, because some vehicles, unfortunately, aren't serviced as regularly as they should be. But by bringing them into these shops, it not only provides a great service for the vehicle while it's in the shop, it also identifies issues, leaks, and other things that, if aren't treated in a licensed facility, would continue to leak onto that road, and again, go the exact same path that somebody doing an oil change in their garage would, which is kind of straight into the water or wastewater system and pollute that way. Hopefully that
The only other thing is, if you mention it, how often do the trucks come in to remove the waste oil?
Varies on location.
Of
Typically,
course.
that's going to happen a couple times a month.
Okay, so it's not even weekly.
No, I mean, you might if the location is very much hopping along, and if that's the case, really that's all the better for the environment on both sides, because newer oils and oils made to the higher specifications in the aftermarket space today are actually improving on fuel economy, reducing leaks, helping with different additive packs that help reduce leaks even in existing high mileage vehicles, which is what we're seeing today.
And then based on our Institute of Traffic Engineers, which is an average, what is your typical volume? How many cars are you servicing in a day?
At this location on the screen,
Well, what do you anticipate in Southfield?
hopefully like anywhere between 25 and 35.
Yeah, and at that pattern, again, you'd be seeing delivery vehicles from our company probably at most once a week, and for waste oil collection, probably every other week.
And the only other, there was the traffic issue, the environmental contamination. There was some mention about wildlife. I don't know on a vacant lot that doesn't have any foliage what kind of wildlife there is, but that was another issue that was brought up.
With what they've described, you're probably more likely to see a little bit of really small animals hiding in the trees and everything else than you are today at a completely mowed, flat grassland.
Thank you to the chair.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, do you have any other comments or any thoughts from those questions? Then what we will do is have an opportunity for the public to make a comment.
We already had the public hearing
Okay.
last week.
And I guess my thought is if there was a person to add to this, but not to the discussion, because we did hear from everyone last week.
I mean, it's your discretion if you want to recognize somebody, and as I said, I would ask that only information that wasn't brought up last week be added to, the discussion. I mean, that's your right to recognize somebody, but we already did hold the public hearing.
Okay.
And again, if they have information that wasn't discussed last week, of course we want to hear it, but.
Okay, and I will do that. If I could ask you to just kind of set aside or have a seat for a moment.
Thank you.
For members of the audience, some of you were here last week, and we had an opportunity to hear from you. We appreciate it. We have the letters, we have the comments you made, but you've had an opportunity to hear from the owners. If there's an additional comment, something that we didn't cover, if there's a spokesperson with you, we would be open to taking 3-minute comment from you. And although I know you, I'm going to ask for your name and your address.
Yes, sir. My name is Reginald Barnes. Our address is 24350 Southfield Road. We are next door to the 24412 Southfield. And I just wanted to address the issue about the traffic as well. Everybody knows that 696 is shut down for the next 2 years. It's also has started a bottleneck. Today on my way here is a flashing light at Mount Vernon and Southfield. Traffic is jammed from 12 Mile southbound, from 8 Mile northbound already. There are several challenges trying to get across the street. So with the neighborhoods of being the alternative routes, this is going to be a constant flow of traffic that's going to be jamming up right there at Southfield. There's no way to cross from that position that you're talking about, because it's our stop sign, the stop sign at Silver Maple Road, and now this oil change place. So it's always going to be a constant in and out. That's a concern. Wildlife, as far as wildlife goes, we have deer. Deer does come in our property, and it will be coming around the areas, and they're looking for foliage. There's nothing unusual about that, but you're taking away an area, again, of where our deer of the environment is. And the concern about the oil, accidents do happen all the time, especially when the owners or the persons that are dealing with this product make mistakes, and our mistakes reported. All we worry about is also the city sewage that may flow into that area, or the environment that the oil may be contaminated or toxic in the ground. The question is, if the building folds and does not support the tax base and it becomes closed, what happens to the building? Does it turn into an auto repair shop? I also noticed on the exclusion of other automobile places like car washes and gas stations are excluded. Why is a place such as the oil change included in this construction area? I am just trying to say, I'm looking out for, when we moved there, we weren't looking for an oil change or a gas station place. I just think it changes the dynamic and the aesthetics of the area. And that's a concern that we have far as the Empowerment Church. Thank you for allowing me.
I thank you so much. Okay, and with that, we close the public session.
So the petitioners, if you could come back up. If there's anything new that you would like to address that the speaker brought up, you can do that before we go to the Planning Commission comments. Excuse me, sir. You have to direct your responses to the chair.
Just addressing the comment about accidents happening. That is why these buildings are kind of double backed up. Not only are there containment units directly under the vehicle at the time of the oil change, but the entire facility then is concrete floor, walled in, oil water separators, and things of that nature. Obviously, the city has its processes for inspecting facilities, making sure that the operators are going to be holding themselves to that standard that the city has set for them. I don't know if you want to speak to the deer and other items, or obviously if the deer are coming around looking for something, there's nothing you can do to stop them today, you know, from using that grass patch or coming by, you know, through the trees. There aren't any planned increases in fruit trees or other things that would attract animals, you know, beyond, you know, just the existence of grass in the way that it is today. You know, and then regarding the traffic patterns and the understanding regarding 696, obviously any of us, okay, obviously with 696 under construction, any of us that live along the corridor are experiencing additional, you know, traffic constraints and things of that nature. This building is going to take a little while to get up and running. Hopefully people have figured out a little bit more on the patterns and traffic has better dispersed. But to the issue of potentially pushing extra traffic down the side lanes, I mean, that's specifically what the Oakland County Road Commission attempted to address with their recommendations about the right turns in and out, is that there will not be, you know, additional traffic that is coming to this facility that is directed that way. Obviously, if someone came to this facility who would have already turned down there, it isn't going to stop them, but it will not increase that burden.
Thank you. Commissioners, if I could start with Commissioner Benuti.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank you also for explaining the process of recycling. That was very informative. I want to understand, pardon me, my voice. You originally were going to be open on Sundays, and now it's not going to be open on Sundays. Is that correct?
We're not 100% sure on that yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We're not 100% sure on that yet. We want to, well, if we get past and everything, we want to see how business goes to see if we should or should not open on Sundays.
Okay. And I had one other. How long, if this is approved, how long do you think it will take before you will be open for business? I'm asking that question because of the one gentleman who had a question and a concern about the traffic. He's talking about the traffic now with 696. We know that's going to be ongoing for a couple of years on one direction and then the other. But how long do you think it'll take, if it's approved, for you to open?
Anywhere between 6 months to a year, depending on the contractors and
As well as when construction starts. Obviously, the weather will play a big factor into that, depending on when you break ground.
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Commissioner Stevens-Gunn.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've got, first of all, say it appears that you satisfied all the Planning Commission parameters for our decision. One of the questions that originated from the community's concerns is, can you detail the number of incidents of oil spillages that you have at your current locations? And keep in mind that that's public information. We can verify that. So please be very specific about those experiences.
Me personally, I've been in this business for 25 years, never had an issue.
Okay. That leads me to, you currently have 2 facilities?
I have 5.
You have 5 facilities, and you have not had any incidents within those 5 facilities that would be oil spillages?
Yeah, never.
Okay. So it appears that you have demonstrated success of this form of business in your current entities. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The other thing that I'd like to say, and this is directed to Planner Crode, as your colleague suggests that the last time that this property was looked at as a potential vendor, potential business was in 2002?
Well, if that's the case, that was before my time.
Okay, okay.
I started in 2010.
Okay, so that was over approximately a quarter of a century ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
So at this point, it would be to our benefit to strongly consider this as an entity in our community. So thank you very much for even considering Southfield as one of your community places that you want to do business. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if I could through the chair, that we always try to find a balance with encouraging economic development and business growth and growing our tax base, at the same time protecting our residents and the neighbors. And that's why we have rules in place. We have monitoring, we have codes enforcement, we have the building department, the city engineer, and other, sometimes many county agencies and so forth, to ensure that there was no negative impact from these types of developments. So the property's been vacant at least 23 years, and even since the last proposal, I believe it's been zoned OS for quite some time. They did come in for a traditional zoning that would have allowed any of those uses. I understand that was like a deadlock at the council, so in effect it was denied, but they've addressed a number of the site plan issues, the turning in and out, and they've excluded a lot of uses that I don't think the neighbors in the city would be encouraged to support if it was just a traditional zoning. We've seen people rezone to a district and say, we're going to build this, and they don't get the financing, or there's a change of plans. And once it's rezoned, any of those uses could come in there. The conditional zoning protects the city. The applicant hopefully will get what they're looking for, but then the city's protected by excluding all these other uses that could have a more of a negative impact if it was just traditional zoning. So,
Thank you.
And Mr. Grody, you couldn't be more right on with the additional, as many entities as supervised. Those of us in the industry who do things the right way would encourage you to visit as often as you want to. We're very proud of being people that do it the right way. We wish everybody would be out more often cleaning up the industry.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin.
If I understand correctly, that currently there's no sidewalk on either street. Is that correct? The streets, the side streets, or Silver Maple and...
Yeah, currently no, but they are proposing to add it up to the property line
And
for any
across-
future sidewalk down the residential areas.
And would they also be adding the sidewalk along Southfield Road?
Yes.
Okay, so in essence, you're getting rid of the dirt, the goat trail that we have on Southfield Road right now, where there is no sidewalk and people walk along there, and you're putting in sidewalks both on the north and the south side of the station. So, and you've got a barrier wall between the back of the building along with the planted vegetation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yes.
So in essence, you're landlocking your business to the Southfield entrance and exit. And the gentleman that was talking mentioned southbound traffic. With the right turn lane only, anyone leaving your business is going to be forced to make a right-hand turn. If they want to do a left to go south, they're going to have to deal with the law of the traffic themselves and not coming from
Absolutely.
your business.
Yeah.
Okay.
No left turns.
And I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have probably more in the line of a comment. First is, in terms of that traffic, it is a concern. But with the curb that you're building, you would almost have to drive over the curb to go to make a left. Okay. I appreciate that as a protective barrier.
So, Mr. Willis, that this ingress, egress is governed by the Road Commission of Oakland County. So they have discussed with them and have made the improvements that the Road Commission of Oakland County have suggested, the right turn in and right turn out.
Okay.
So that's another agency that's overseeing.
Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, and there are no driveway entrances or exits onto Stratford or Silver Maple. So to Mr. Martin's point, if someone goes out of there, they're doing it illegally, it could be ticketed or worse.
Thank you. Some of the presenters comments that we had last time. We're concerned about the environmental, oil spills, things of that nature. To hear a perfect record with that kind of history, I am more than impressed. So I do appreciate your comments, and I thank you so much. Commissioners, are there any other questions?
No.
Okay. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. The Planning Commission recommends favorable recommendation of PCZR 25-0001 to rezone the western 97 feet of the vacant parcel on the eastern side of Southfield Road between Stratford Drive and Silver Maple Street from OS Office Service to B3 General Business based on the following conditions and factors. It's in line with the Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan, which indicates local mixed use for this property. The proposed conditional rezoning to B3 General Business allows uses that would be compatible with the existing mix of uses in the area. Subject to the following conditions proposed by the property owner: execution and recording of the conditional rezoning agreement, subject to review and approval by the city attorney. Addition of an island in the curb cut on Southfield Road to make entrance right in and out only. The excluded uses of the conditional rezoning, as I said before, exclude funeral homes, assembly uses, open air sales of plants, lawn furniture and playground equipment, hotels and motels, motor vehicle washing, both conveyor and non-conveyor types, gas station, automobiles and truck sales, gas stations and automobile and truck sales, drive-in and fast food restaurants, open-air displays and sales of motorhomes, camping trailers and other vehicles, alternative financial services, smoking lounges, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, sexually oriented businesses and cabarets, medical marijuana facilities and adult use marijuana retailers, small box retail, and kennels and pet daycare.
Thank you. We have a motion.
To the chair, I recommend that the Planning Commission accept the favorable recommendation presented by the Planning Department for PCZR 25-0001.
Second.
Been moved and seconded with favorable approval. All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 4 approvals. I thank you so much. We then need to talk about PSP 24-0011. Mr. Bowler, is that a public hearing requirement on that?
Nope.
Okay. Do you have any further comment on just your request to open oil change?
Thank you. We hope you'll consider us for other places after you see how this place turns out.
Yes.
Yeah, I know your, the facility that you showed. Could you go back to that elevation? Yeah.
There.
It has the brick piers and the ornamental fence. It has the brick piers and an ornamental fence.
Yes.
That is a standard that we've adopted on the north side of Southfield Road. Would you be willing to add that element to your site plan?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so if you're considering the site plan at this point, a condition would be you can give us revised plans to work the brick pier and the ornamental fence in along Southfield Road as additional screening. And that's that's the pattern that we've adopted for the north of Southfield Road, north of 12 Mile, if you recall.
Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Perdue.
Yes. I would like to make a favorable
Motion. Recommendation first.
Your
Oh, I'm
recommendation.
sorry.
Good to go?
I'm going to see if there's any questions. But
Oh, sorry.
okay. Do you have any questions?
Okay. All right. I'd like to make a favorable motion.
If you have any questions,
Oh, no, I don't have
Okay.
any questions.
Commissioner Stevens. Any
No,
questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Martin. Nope.
As far as the revision to the site plan, including Oakland County Road Commission in the right-only exit was an excellent idea, and appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
And thank you. I have no further questions.
Appreciate it.
Recommendation?
Yes, sir. Planning Commission recommends that PSP 24-0011, site plan review request by Allie Mary, IMI Ventures to construct and operate a new oil change business at 24412 Southfield Road, be approved due to substantial compliance with the following site plan review standards and subject to the following conditions. Site plan review standards such as appearance, coordination with the adjacent sites, health and safety concerns, pedestrian circulation and access, privacy, screening, site design characteristics, site lighting, vehicle circulation and access. This recommendation is based on the documents, facts, and representations submitted with the application. It is also subject to the following conditions. Subject to approval of the rezoning PCZR 25-0001 by the City Council. Subject to approval of the required waivers by the Zoning Board of Appeals. A waiver for the setback from the Southfield Road right-of-way. A waiver for the setback from Stratford Drive right-of-way. A waiver for the front yard landscaping and greenbelt along Southfield Road. And a waiver for the side yard landscaping and greenbelt along Stratford Drive, as well as the condition that was just discussed regarding the revised site plan that'll be submitted for the screening on the north side. The site and building shall be developed consistent with the submitted site plan by the contractor and architect. The petitioner is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department regarding site security and continuous compliance with all ordinances, codes, laws, and statutes.
Thank you. Can we hear a motion?
To the chair,
Yes.
It's okay, you want,
Okay.
thank you. I'd like to make a favorable, a motion for PSP 24-0011.
Thank you. Second?
second.
All approve? Aye. Any opposed? That is for approval. Motion passes. Thank you so much.
So you can coordinate with our office on the upcoming council meetings.
Yeah,
There'll be a study meeting and a public hearing.
okay, absolutely. Thank you guys for your time.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the next item on the agenda is
Oh, yeah.
next item on the agenda is the capital improvement plan.
Yes, just give me a second here. All right, I know you guys have had some considerable discussion on this, and this is my first run through, so please be patient. I've been doing this, though, for many years. This is the annual City of Southfield Capital Improvement Program, which you guys have known the routine. After tonight, the Finance Committee got postponed to April 23rd, and then we'll come back to the council regular meeting and discussion on the 28th, and hopefully adoption. And again, what is a CIP? It outlines a schedule of public expenditures for a 6-year period. The first year is the actual budget. Years 2 through 6 are best guesstimates from departments on future needs. It doesn't address all capital expenditures, but the physical improvements that are permanent in nature and substantial equipment purchases. And a CIP is beneficial to the community because it allows for a systematic evaluation of all potential projects and coordination between departments and provides a uniform plan of financing. It's also required by the State Planning and Enabling Act and is one of the reasons that we got recertified as a redevelopment-ready community. Again, the State Enabling Act says that those public structures and improvements in general order of their priority within an ensuing 6-year period, and it gives the Planning Commission the authority to review and make recommendations because we're looking at the big picture. And I've used this analogy before. You don't want to pave a street and then a year later tear it up to put the water and sewer in. The last CIP was adopted in April 2024, and a full copy of the document, all the documents can be found on Planning Department. Process begins in December. It's very labor intensive, but all the departments cooperate, put a lot of time in, and we are the conveyors of their information to you and the council. CIP is basically broken down into 8 categories, and we'll go through each one of them very quickly. We've got the Southfield Public Library. This is major projects completed, and I believe the commission had asked for kind of a review of what was completed last year. I think that was a great addition to this presentation. You can see what was completed last year, and then projects that are either underway or are postponed for various reasons. Major initiatives for fiscal year 25-26 is the chiller replacement, HVAC systems, and a building condition assessment. Estimated cost approximately $6.4 million. Southfield Library has an ongoing commitment. They're constantly changing to adapt to new technology and new interests and wants of the residents and customers that they serve. They're continued to make improvements. The Creative Space Lab, which allows for photography, photo scanning, printing equipment, and a recording studio, is a way that the library is trying to stay current with the needs of the residents. The Southfield Police Department, again, you've seen these requests. I know from being here long enough that ballistic vests and other things only have a certain shelf life, and they need to be replaced and upgraded. The cameras is something that technology continuously changes, the tasers and so forth. This has been a very successful tool that the city, the police department, and a number of private operators have all worked together on these flock license plate readers. And they send alerts for stolen vehicles, missing person, domestic violence, and so forth. And all of the communities share this information so that a patrol car that's out on site gets instant notification of a potential criminal activity. Mobile command center is important for large events. Police department needs to upgrade their mobile command center. The current one is over 20 years old. Handguns and other equipment constantly need upgrading and refitting. And then they have a number of interior building repairs. The crime lab has space constraints, and they need new shelving and other equipment so that their testing does not become contaminated. Their detention center, they have a lot of outdated equipment and infrastructure, and they want to modernize their facilities. And then this is a project status report for the last several years. Southfield Fire Department, they always do a good job analyzing and providing metrics. They track their vehicle mileage. So it's not just about so many miles driven, but the usage and the wear and tear on their vehicles, and they're projecting total project cost of $8.9 million for new equipment. They have accessory equipment and training, and then miscellaneous costs, repairs to certain engines and so forth. They do regular analysis of the location and status of their existing facilities, which are aging. Many of them were built in the 1960s or early 70s. And they've estimated different remodeling and upgrades to existing facilities, as well as estimating a new fire station, one, for example, $25 million, new station number 3, $10 million, and so forth. So if they were able to get everything approved and replaced, they're looking at almost $38 million to do the major upgrades that they feel that are needed. DPW constantly is in the process of repairing and changing out older equipment and providing the necessary vehicles to support the various departments within the city. Water, sewer, roads, and bridges. The engineering department and DPW do a pretty good job because they have to track many years out on their funding sources. So they provide a map on road and water main sanitary projects for 25-26, roads only, 13-mile road between Southfield and Greenfield Road between 12 and 13 mile by the Road Commission of Oakland County, Greenfield Road between Lincoln and 12 mile, and then water only, Section 11, water main improvements, Phase 2, for a total of $55.2 million. And then this is a 5-year projected construction schedule at various sections of the city. And then this is our project status, completed water and sewer. Stormwater's ongoing issues becoming more prevalent during climate change and changing weather patterns. And as we continue to build out our community, when the city was first growing, they didn't have as strict standards at the time. Anytime that we can incorporate green infrastructure, we can reduce the gray infrastructure needs and uses. And then these are stormwater and floodplain project locations. Completed was the LTU wetlands and the GWK Green Infrastructure Program, and then in progress are 3 other Parks and Recreation, the reopening ceremony at Carpenter Lake earlier last year. They provide a number of programs to their residents and for residents. These on the left of the screen, as I look at it, are completed projects. On the right are projects in progress. Beechwoods is going through a major renovation, both within the city's property and in partnership with Oakland County. Carpenter Lake, Nature Preserve, the fishing pier is going to be redone. Inglenook Park, some drainage issues are taken care of, and then there's thankfully some repairs to the Evergreen Hills Golf Course that have been long overdue. And then completed, in progress, and planned projects, over 25 of those. And future projects. This gives a kind of a breakdown of where the funding goes and how it's spent. Tech Services is constantly trying to protect the city from malware and cyber security issues, and they're going through major replacement of employee badges and fobs that all be tied into the computer and phone system, so we don't have to remember passwords, and give us better protection. Document management software, BSNA financial system, which the city is transitioning more and more through these systems to reduce labor and errors. Pedestrian enhancements, the best part, right, of the CIP is the stuff that we work on. So over the last 2 years, we have partnered with APT Solar to put some green infrastructure and more sustainable lighting along our pathway system. To date, we've installed 40 units along the City Center Trail near the Monarch Butterfly and Red Bull Park. Alex has been instrumental in getting these recycling bins with some nice graphics that's promoting art, culture, and sustainability. These are solar powered, and they send signals to the parks and facilities when they're getting full to be replaced. So hopefully it's reducing the amount of labor and encouraging recycling. And you'll see 7 sets of those throughout the municipal campus. Suzanne has been instrumental in leading our sustainability actions. We've received recognition from a number of outside agencies on making improvements with sustainability. We've conducted an employee survey. We also worked with Southfield Public sustainability survey. We're going to be doing a series of town hall meetings, and outside consultant is assisting us with that. I know another survey was done with LTU students that have been incorporated into the plan. And of course, our Sustainable Southfield 2.0 had many goals and objectives on achieving sustainability in the city, which includes new art installations, extended bike paths, and continuing to fill the sidewalk gap throughout the city. These are some of our successful trails that have been implemented with placemaking and pedestrian amenities. And the one that we're now focusing on is the 9 line that's going to connect I-75 to I-275, 17 miles. That includes Hazel Park, Ferndale, Oak Park, Southfield, Farmington, and Farmington Hills. Because of the success that we've had just generating enthusiasm, Novi, Northville, South Lyon, and Lyon Township are now partners. So now we're 10 communities, and there'll be 36 linear miles all across South Oakland County will be connected when this plan is fully developed. We've always been given a lot of credit for the system that we've built here in the city center, but our regional partners have said it hasn't connected to anything. Now that you can get on a bike and travel down Northwestern Highway and bisect 9 Mile, we're branding it as 9 Line. Once that's fully complete, you can go to the east and use the Livernois connector to join the Joe Louis Greenway, which is another 35 miles, which our Mayor Duggan talked about last night in his State of the City. If you go west, you connect and cross the I-275 trail corridor that goes all the way down to Lake Erie Metro Park and then goes north to the Michigan Airline Trail, which you can connect to Lake St. Clair and eventually the Lakes to Lakes Trail to Lake Michigan. So now Southfield residents within a half a mile or mile can jump on one of our pathways when this is fully built and go hundreds of miles. So we're very excited about that. And we continue to make those improvements to encourage more walkability and biking and non-motorized transit. This is part of the 9 Mile corridor, working with our Arts Commission. We have identified a number of areas for some public art. These are the funding gaps, and I'm proud to say that this year, in 2025, we've received funding. We will be building a 10-foot wide bike path on the south side of 9 Mile from Evergreen to M39, and there's no sidewalks there now. And then in 2026, from M10 to Greenfield, the 5-foot sidewalk will be ripped up and a new bike path will be put in. We also received funding through Oakland County Access to Transit, shown in yellow. We're doing preliminary engineering to develop plans and cost estimates for a pedestrian bridge and a bike pedestrian bridge across M39 and M10. So you have a continuous corridor. And then we recently, just last year, are finishing up going from Prescott Street to Plum Hollow, a new bike path. when it's all said and done, Southfield, you'll be able to travel Southfield from Greenfield to Inkster on a continuous either bike path or bike lane. And then as we go towards Beach, we've added a bike path connection to the northern part of Beechwoods Park, and then Shiawassee is going to be developed, Beach from 9 to Shiawassee is going to be installed this year. It's been funded. So there's multiple connections that we're continuing to build on. Yes, Ms. Gunn?
A question for you, maybe I missed it. From the Losser 9 Mile where the country club is, that stretch from Losser to Beach on the south side, that's going to be redone?
So the pathway is mostly on the south side of 9 Mile.
Okay.
So if you're going west, you go in front of Plum Market, cross the street, and then you'll go north across the street and then jump on the north side of 9 Mile. That pathway has been extended to Plum Hollow, which then connects with a previous pathway that was built to Berg. And then once you get across Telegraph, you go back down south, and there's an existing bike path to Beach. And then as you go west of Beach, there's bike lanes on the north and south side. Because that has those ravines and the bridges, it'd be cost prohibitive plus aesthetically unpleasing to build retaining walls to put that in. So that's the only part that we're probably gonna concede to a bike lane, but it's still bikeable, and it'll get us to Farmington. Then our partners in Farmington will have to pick up the bike path from there.
Okay, thank you.
But you also be able to take a Louis and go south down Beach all the way to Shiawassee, and then there's a path from Shiawassee to Inkster. So there's going to be a couple different pathways you can do. And we're working on doing our first trailhead. This is the new branded 9 line. We're hoping to make Bowervik Woods, which is in the center of the city, in the center of our 9 Mile, a permanent trailhead to get on and off the bike path. There's parking there, there'll be restrooms, there'll be other amenities. And we're working on building 3 of these, similar to SFLD, did you see out there? And Oak Park, what they've done? Creating a new brand along that whole stretch. So these will be large monument signs, and then we'll have smaller branded signs, additional bike repair stations and respite stations and bike racks and all that. And we've talked to Plum Market, who's going through some renovations. Hey, take advantage, open up an ice cream shop or a coffee shop or a grab and go section, because you're going to start seeing a lot of pedestrians and bikers along this trail.
Yeah,
A water station, whatever it is.
yeah, ice cream.
Yeah.
Another longer-term project that we're working on, we had extensive engineering analysis. Another goal, wish of mine is to connect along the Valley Rouge Trail from 12 Mile down to 10 Mile to improve the existing pathway that's there and to provide pedestrian underpass from the highway system and some trailheads so that you can start at 12 Mile and go all the way down to 10 Mile or back. It's a beautiful asset. If any of you have ever been down there and walk, it's unique. You don't even feel like you're in Southfield. You kind of feel like you're up north. But it doesn't have the connectivity that is warranted. So we just started preliminary engineering to determine what the costs are and to start to identify potential funding sources. We would continue doing the branding and wayfinding at these different various trail segments. Alex has been instrumental in helping to install gateway signs, the large gateway signs, and then what we're calling the mini gateway signs. So every entrance into the city is now branded as opposed to just the green generic DPW, welcome to Southfield, or city limits. We continue to work on branding of our street furnishings in different parts of the city and installing art. Recently We completed the monarch butterfly with the pollinator garden. We're working on some additional interpretive panels, but across the street from that, where Red Pole Park is just north, we're working with Town Center, Town Square, of installing a bumblebee sculpture and another pollinator garden to continue our sustainability and endangered species theme. This, again, just shows what we've been able to accomplish in the last 10 years as far as mile markers and signage and branding. We installed 2 new trailhead signs, and I will imagine that we would install some of these along 9 Line, branded with the 9 Line colors and logos. And then, ultimately, this will tie into Northland City Center and the 1.5 mile perimeter around there, and making connections to 9 Mile. We were successful in receiving safe streets, safe spaces. Is that correct, Alex? We're getting an additional $200,000, which will accelerate our pedestrian amenities by 2 years. So we're putting together a bid package. We'll have $300,000, about what, 44 improvements? And then here's our count to date. I think we're over 50% of all the bus stops now have been improved and upgraded. And then we continue to look for partnerships with our neighborhood groups and other agencies. Another long-term plan, I was speaking to the city administrator about this today. We don't have the money to do everything all at once, but we might start phasing in more accessible improvements on the front lawn. And then this is a list of all the things that we completed last year, what's in progress, and what was delayed for various reasons. But we've accomplished a lot. So with that, do you have any questions?
Yes. First is a suggestion. This year, when we had the seat, we ended up with this weather problem and canceling the meeting. For next year or following years, I suggest build in a week adjustment or flexibility between review of the SEEP and for the planning commission, so that we don't end up having to go through.
I understand that. We have to have this, though, adopted before the budget starts in May, and so that's the rub, right?
Well, just the February.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And then there was a snafu with the finance committee, and we had to get pushed a month. And now we're going to go to the finance committee, and then 2 days later go to council and present and ask them to approve it in the same night. So things do happen, and that's why we have those study sessions. And I know the team had a lot of coordination with all the 6 other departments, as well as you. So it was unfortunate that that had to be canceled and postponed. But I hear you. But this is like 6 months to get through this, and all the scheduling and rooms and who's available.
Yeah, I understand. I think the presentation is very good, and
Really, really nice.
yeah. I'm just trying to think of a way to do, so everyone can see everything that's done, is to put all the completions together, so that you don't think that, well, this part was done or that part, but it's hard. I think it's good the way it is. If I take back my suggestion.
Well, I appreciate the suggestion about putting a table of what was completed the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was
we'll make
really
sure we'll just
helpful.
continue to improve.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stevens got
I think I'm always impressed with what has been accomplished and what is on the forefront. I'm really excited about that. One of the questions I have is looking at the 9 Mile piece. I'm excited about it because I ride, so it's going to give me an opportunity to actually ride my bike to church. So, but one of the questions I have is that, is there something that we can do to encourage other businesses to put bike racks out? Because if we have the routes to go to the businesses, but once I get there with my bike, what do I do with it?
Right.
And newer businesses, it's a component, the bike racks are a component of newer businesses' installations. But the older businesses, like, for example, Plum Hollow, I go there frequently because their meats and their fish, and I'm always in there, but they don't have a bike rack.
Right.
So if I ride my bike,
Well, they will.
Okay.
Because they're going through renovation. We will
Right,
require. I get your point, and I think we just had the branding campaign adopted over the winter. I've been working with our partners in Oakland County, SEMCOG, for over 2 years to get to this point. We all now have memorandum of understanding to work together. I think with us, if we're able to start implementing some of this branding and signage, we will do an education campaign, and the things that you're talking about, we have Molly Lalone from the DDA. She can go out there and really focus with the businesses in the DDA, and we can hit the other businesses to say, this is really an opportunity for you to grow your customer base. And these are the things that we suggest that you do. And in some cases, we've been focusing our public transit pedestrian amenities along this corridor because we knew this was coming. And we had an art installation done in front of the fire station. The mayor's working on his big piece that is likely to come to fruition by the end of the summer. And then we have a couple other locations. So as people start becoming aware of this program, then we can launch an education campaign.
well, for example, the dollar stores that are on Losser and 11 Mile, there are no bike racks. The nail salons that are on Evergreen between 10 Mile and Fillmore, no bike racks. Those are places that I would love to be able to hop on my bike, and because I go there anyway.
Right.
But what am I going to do with my bike?
Right. Well, as you know, we incorporated it as a requirement in our ordinance.
Yes, yes.
And we've made tremendous progress over the years, but it's getting the older establishments who not upgrading, they're kind of, until they want to do an improvement, we don't have a real opportunity to require them other than through education.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing I will say is, though, that parts of the city have noticed the benches and trash and say, hey, what about us? And we work off of a priority list, like where the bus routes are, where there's most pedestrian activity. But if someone reaches out to me and says, hey, next time you do this, can you consider our area? Guess what? They get moved up to, because if they're going to appreciate it and if they're going to use it, we're going to make sure that we get it to them. And so there's a number of stops on Losser, north of 11 Mile, because that neighborhood had said, hey, we use the bus, we walk, we would like to see more of these. So when we, after we've addressed our priorities and we have some miscellaneous ones, we'll dedicate it to people that are out there using them.
Commissioner Bernoulli?
It's just, I'm just blown away just seeing the whole thing. And I'm really impressed with, one of my loves is the garden, Mary Thompson. And I've been there 20 years now. And they've made such an improvement there. And when you were talking about bike racks, I was thinking, there's no bike racks in the gardens or anything, but you do have a lot of benches there. And that's really, really helpful. And as I told you before, when I had trouble with a seizure, and I was trying to do some walking up and
Yeah.
down Evergreen, and I was so appreciative of those benches. Oh, my gosh, I could go so far, and I said, oh, a little bit further, I can get to the bench, you
Yeah,
know?
that's great to hear.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
the kind of feedback that we love
Oh,
hearing.
my gosh, it made a difference. Why did they, it's just a question. Some of the benches are going to be one color and some now are going to be black.
Well,
Why?
we have a brand.
Okay.
So in the city center, because when I first started here, there was 34 different types of garbage cans on campus. There was some private development across the street that were using the silver benches. So I looked around and I said, okay, these are modern, durable,
Yeah,
they're unique. Let's build off of that. So within the city center district, these are the Cadillacs. They're the most expensive, most durable.
yeah,
We have silver branded benches and trash. And then if you look at all of the signage and everything, they're complementary tones. When we had to look at the rest of the city, we looked at Centropolis, we looked at the DDA. The DDA had already established a pattern of black vinyl coated benches and trash at their bus stops, but their stuff was a little outdated. And black furnishings give a sense of timelessness. They're always in vogue. They don't, like if you paint something, in the 70s we had everything was wood, and then it went to this recycled
Right,
plastic, and
right,
that
right.
they tend to carry through time. So we went one grade down on the quality, but still a higher end, and we adopted the black benches and trash for all the bus stops and pedestrian amenities throughout the city. So you'll see those two variations, especially because it would almost been cost prohibitive to put the nicer stuff
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah,
So we made some compromises, and then with regards to some of the other utility companies, we have certain brand colors depending on what district they're located in.
well, I thought that having those garbage receptacles, and thank you very much for you doing what you've done with that, having them right next to the bus stops, because bus stops, people tend to just throw
Yeah.
stuff everywhere. And I've noticed by you having those garbage cans right there, or receptacles right next to, and a bench at the bus stop, it's keeping our city so much neater and
Right.
clean.
And the ones that were provided by the transit company are so small, they were always overflowing.
Yeah, yeah.
So for all those reasons,
And I never see garbage, on the ground.
plus
behind
we've
the
had
bus stops.
a good cooperation with the codes department that they go around and check all those. Or if one gets overflowed and someone calls in, they'll send somebody out there right away. So it's a combination of
Okay,
having enough receptacles in strategic locations, because most people won't throw it on the ground if it's easily
No, if it's-
accessible. If they got to work for it, they don't.
right, right.
And then it's kind of that broken window theory. By constantly keeping them cleaned and empty, it just encourages more usage.
And also having some of those benches facing one way and at the other.
And I thought that's what your question was, and there's a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah,
It's all based on accessibility, number one. Two, it's based on whether it's in the right-of-way or an easement. And if there's an amenity to look at, I'll put the bench facing a pond, a wetland, or a green space. Nobody feels comfortable with a bench right against traffic, so if there's enough distance.
Right.
But we always are thinking about accessibility. So if someone's in a wheelchair and they're using a 5-foot sidewalk or the path, they have to be able to park right next to a bench so
Right,
they're not
right, and have the
excluded
pavement
and
there.
have the pavement there.
Yeah.
They need a 5-foot turnaround. Sometimes that's not possible on the other side of the sidewalk because it's private property and we can't get an easement or there's an obstruction. And by varying them, it also adds a little bit of flair to it. So I constantly get asked why they one way or the other, but you'll notice it's all based on accessibility first. It's based on do we have the right of way, safety issues, and then if we need it, we've gotten some easements on private property, but then that usually costs more. It's more of a lengthy process, and then they want additional screening.
Well, it's well thought out. I know the first time I was asked why, why have they got my back to the traffic? And I said, there's a reason for that, you've got your feet on pavement
Yep.
instead of on grass.
Yep.
So,
And then
thank you.
if we did it the other way, then we have to pour more concrete,
That's expensive.
and it takes away more green space. So there's always a balance.
Yeah, thank you. It's great, and I love the suggestion. I think you made the suggestion, Tony, about putting 24 and 25, back to back so we could see what was done and what is. That's really helpful because it just shows you all the work that was done and work to come. Thank you.
I have one other question. On 8 Mile. 8 Mile and Losser, right in front of Artistic, maybe? The gas station, the audio-visual people, it's a bus stop somewhere in there.
Yeah, right there in front of the gas station.
No, it's not in front of the gas station, it's down some. But
Okay.
there's no marker for the bus station, there's nothing there. And the only reason why I figured out it was a bus stop is because I saw this guy he was just hanging out. So I said, it must be a bus stop. So can we get something there?
Well, that's a DDOT bus stop. I could tell you, before I came here, as a consultant, I surveyed the entire 8 Mile corridor and other mile roads. And what I found is, let's say there was 500 bus stops along there, less than 30% had a sign. Even fewer had a key walk, even fewer had everything. So over time, things get hit, removed from construction, vandalized, and nobody was upkeeping it. And I said, if you want to grow your customer base and no one knows where to stand, then you're gonna continue losing customers. We did I think it was air quality mitigation grant. We got like $3.2 million, and we upgraded every one of those bus stops to have a key walk, a sign, a schedule holder, and then at more strategic places we did the bench and the trash or a bus stop. Now that was probably over 20 years ago, and over time, I can tell you that every one of those, I inventoried every single stop. We got money, funding, and we upgraded every single one. And over time, if you're not maintaining it, it's an issue. Now, Alex or I could try to reach out to DDOT. They've been a little more challenging to deal with. I've always had better luck with SMART, but we have taken on that charge and responsibility from what I learned when I was a consultant to populate the bus transit system here and to do it on a priority system that we can defend of why we're spending time and money, because it's transit propensity, which has the most likelihood of being used or is used, where there are cross routes, where the population's located, who uses public transit, and then you work your way down to the least priorities.
I have a couple. First of all, I'm impressed with anyone who knows that there's 34 types of trash cans in any environment. So, yeah. You talked about the bike route on 9. Do you have a timetable for, let's say, completion of the first mile?
Of the
bike lane on 9 Mile.
Well, the bike lanes are already installed between Beach and Inkster on both sides of the road.
And I think you mentioned Evergreen and...
Yeah, so this year, as soon as construction begins, south side of 9 Mile from Evergreen to M39 is going to be constructed this year.
Okay.
Next year, next construction season, from M10 to Greenfield, where there's an existing sidewalk, that's going to be ripped up and a bike path is going to be put in. We've got the funding in place for those two projects. The one that's happening today has already been bid out and awarded. The one for next year will be bid out. Now again, things can change, circumstances could change, but we did receive the grant and for that project. And so by the end of 26, we'll have the entire 6 miles connected. There might be a couple areas that we might have to do some improvements, but you'll be able to walk from Greenfield to Inkster, which in front of Bowervik Woods 2 years ago was just a goat path. I mean, we've been doing pieces for 4 consecutive years to build this system out and tie in with what was already there.
Will there be anything different, let's say a telegraph where you have to cross at the light to accommodate that kind of traffic?
That's going to be a little more challenging. Those are the little pieces, because
Okay.
that's under MDOT jurisdiction to make improvements there. But this is what I explained to another agency the other day. I'm calling these pieces the Golden Spike Project. Just like the Transcontinental Railroad, they built it from both sides, and then they got to the point, and there's the Golden Spike. Crossing M10 and M39 is our biggest barrier, not only for Southfield, but for the entire corridor. And if we can build the pathways to both sides of that, I'm convinced with what we've done that we'll have a very good shot of getting the money and the approval. MDOT has already been supportive of these TAP grants because they've seen the work that we've done. And that'll be the opportunity then to say, okay, MDOT, thank you for partnering with us for this whole stretch. Our next challenge is making crossing a telegraph safer. So you can already walk across there, but it's a little precarious, right? And if you remember, that gas station there on the corner is going to get some upgrades when they rebuilt, and we incorporated some of these sidewalk stuff in there.
Okay. Also, changing subject, a few years ago, Deputy Macrina would describe what was needed to repair this building. And when he would do it, I would feel like I'm, but I don't hear that description. I don't see it here in this. And so I'm just wondering
I think the strategy has been, council has been really pushing for major upgrades to this facility. So he's doing the minimum band-aiding he needs to keep everything afloat with facilities, but they're not investing the major money because they're kind of in a holding pattern to see if we're going to do a complete rehaul of the entire complex. Okay. And I think that's the change from last year and the year before to now. I mean, he could further describe that, but that's my sense of, he's kind of just, there's no sense listing all these things if we're gonna be doing a major project here.
A question, I'm hoping I'm not treading too far off path. The numbers that are submitted here, and you say they are numbers by the department, are these numbers that submitted in consult with, let's say, a contractor or something? Because I saw one of the entries. It says equipment for emergency stuff, and it had $120,000. And I didn't understand how that communicated. You know, it just, is that someone saying, well, we might need some stuff and let's throw a number there? Or is there a process?
Well,
that
just like what I only can speak for what our department goes through. We have a lot of experience in installing benches and trash receptacles. So we look at, okay, we bought 30 of these last year, cost X amount of money to purchase them and ship them. Then we have to go and hire somebody else to install them. And in some places, there's already concrete. In other places, we got to pour concrete. Then we look at that. And then sometimes we'll say, okay, this is what we spent per unit last year. We did 30 units last year, we're going to do 25 this year. So we extrapolate that, and then we say, well, rate of inflation 5%. So it's the best guesstimate without actually going out to bid. So we feel pretty confident that that number is whole. In some cases, the the pathway system, we've had engineer calculate that and put it in contingencies. In other cases, we know that that project's been awarded, this is the cost. I would imagine each department, either through their own experience or consultants are getting bids, or just procurement, they know that ballistic vests cost X amount of dollars, they need 30, that's where they're coming up with their number.
Okay,
And then the last thing I'll say is, anything that's in the budget is cross-referenced to the CIP. And so even my department will get questioned when we go through the budgeting hearing. Well, you're asking for this money, but I don't see it in the CIP. So administration and OMB has been very good the last couple of years, making sure that these things are realistic and that they're defendable to council when we get put on the hot seat. How did you come up with that number?
Okay.
Now, I've been grilled a few times about, well, we look at your budget and you didn't spend this money that you asked for. We could have used it for something else. And I said, well, we applied for the grant. We had to come up with a 20% match. That's why I asked for the money. Once it gets awarded, you have to accept it, and that money's got to be there. Now, by the time it goes out to bid and awarded, sometimes it crosses a fiscal year. So I couldn't spend it that year, but if the money wasn't there, we couldn't have awarded the project. And really, that's where some of these things I think should be a 2-year budget cycle. But I can't apply for a grant and not know the money's there. It's like writing a check in your checkbook and you know you haven't deposited your check yet. So that, that's another thing that is hard to gauge. We do the best we can.
And I agree. The police department did say they're purchasing something like 41 Glocks and had a number after
Yeah.
that. It's just that one comment of emergency stuff.
And again, I don't know maybe they have a detailed list of what they think they need.
Someplace else?
Yeah.
Would that be available then to?
The only other thing I'll say is capital projects and purchasing are supposed to be $5,000 or more. So someone's not going to detail a list of bandages or smaller items. They should be.
Okay.
They should be detailed in their budget summary.
Okay. I got you. I'm good.
I'm good.
Then I think we have no more questions.
Would you explain this?
That's next, but we officially have to open a public hearing and close the public hearing. And then I would like a recommendation from you, and then that'll be the last item.
Then this is the opportunity for the public hearing. We would ask anyone who's interested to come up and make comments. There's no one in the audience. Public hearing opportunity is closed.
So we're looking for a recommendation on the CIP to City Council.
To the
Give by
chair,
motion, okay.
to the chair, I'd like to make a motion that we provide the CIP that we've reviewed to the city council.
And I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion has been adopted unanimously, so it passes.
Okay. The last item is just to update you. This was in our capital improvement plan, but if you've gone up and down Greenfield lately, between 8 and 9, to augment what's happening at the Northland City Center and to partner with Oak Park, who's also made some improvements on the corridor. I think 2 years ago, we walked the entire corridor and we're like, this is a little tired. We can do some things to spruce this up, especially with Northland happening and what Oak Park is doing. So the stars indicate new ground signs that were installed at the end of last year, and there's the mayor of Oak Park and the mayor of Southfield out there doing some PR and a ribbon cutting for the new signage. And then if you see in the background, we installed about 34 banners on 17 poles to add a little bit of color. And then if you see the mulch, and you'll see a little bit of landscaping, at both gateways, we put landscape beds in. So that was our first phase of development. Southfield invested about $100,000, and Oak Park matched that. Not fully 100, but they are also providing watering and maintenance as an in-kind. And we're working with the DDA. We had to get permission from the Road Commission of Oakland County and DTE, whose light poles those are. So it took a lot of coordinating. But now that year one has been completed, we'll look at the growth in the spring, maybe do some infill plantings, and then we're going to continue up Greenfield all the way to the north end and do similar improvements. With that, the mayor's like, okay, we're doing all this stuff with Northland, we've made improvements on Greenfield, but we've got this MDOT bridge overpass, Greenfield and 8 Mile. Now we're covering multiple jurisdictions. So the south side of the 8 Mile is Detroit. The northeast is Oak Park. The northwest is Southfield. You've got the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, and you got the Southfield DDA. So we applied for a grant, and we got some seed money to hire a consultant. There was some talk about painting a mural, but it's dark. We know that there's been some homeless people living there. There's debris. And the mayor thought, let's light this up. Let's do this as an art exhibit. And we brought in a specialized company that's done work downtown with Detroit and Ford, lighting up the casinos and lighting up for the NFL. And we came up with a branding campaign. Because we're redevelopment ready, we're eligible for crowdfunding. So the brochure that we handed out was launched on Monday, and I've got a short video. But I'm going to introduce this. If we raise $50,000 in 60 days, we'll get a $50,000 match from MEDC. If we don't make our goal, whatever we raise, we can keep. But this is a $250,000 project, so every dollar helps. We'll take $5 up to $10,000. So anybody that was interested in giving over 10, you're capped at 10. So you don't have to worry. Just want to read a brief statement. The 8 Mile Boulevard Association, in partnership with the cities of Southfield, Oak Park, and Detroit, launched the Let There Be Light Gateway crowdfunding campaign on Monday, March 24th, to transform the 8 Mile Greenfield Gateway. The campaign aims to raise $50,000 through the Michigan-based crowdfunding platform Patronicity that will be matched dollar for dollar by the Mission Economic Development Corporation, hopefully for an additional $50,000. We have 60 days. It runs through May 23rd, 2025. This area is traveled by over 100,000 people. And residents, businesses, and community organizations are invited to contribute to the campaign. Seriously, $5 or more. That's how we raise money for the Red Pole Park. And help bring this vision to life. Donations can be made at projects Let There Be Light Gateway Patronicity. Every dollar counts towards making the gateway a brighter, safer, and more welcoming place for everyone. And I have a short video.
Let There Be Light Gateway. A 60-day crowdfunding campaign by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's Patronicity program is underway to raise $50,000 for a match of $50,000. With the leadership of the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, the cities of Detroit, Oak Park, and Southfield are working to transform a piece of their shared border with a dramatic lighting project. The intersection of 8 Mile Road, the Lodge Freeway, and Greenfield Road is an important gateway to Detroit, Oak Park, and Southfield. The surrounding area is undergoing a major transformation with many new investments and rehab structures. The 8 Mile Boulevard Association, Detroit, Oak Park, and Southfield have joined forces to create a new look to the centerpiece of this important gateway, where Greenfield Road and the Lodge Freeway intersect with 8 Mile Road. Join us in the remaking of this intersection through our Let There Be Light Gateway initiative that will add artistic lighting to an intersection crossed by over 100,000 travelers daily. The objective is to install lighting where none exists to the underpass of the 8 Mile Road Bridge that spans the intersection.
Our mission is to lift the image and appearance of 8 Mile Road.
Greenfield and Lodge is one of the key gateways to Detroit.
This amazing project will further economic development in the area.
Our plan is to make this intersection unique, to make it look like no other.
The 8 Mile Boulevard Association supports.
The City of Detroit supports.
The City of Oak Park supports.
Southfield supports.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
As we turn drab to bright, let there be light.
This doesn't say that seniors, I mean, how can they donate? This says to go to websites and all that stuff. So,
That way, all the money is collected by one.
okay, because I want to put this in our building tomorrow.
Well, I looked just before the meeting tonight, there's been 4 or 5 donors for just over $1,000 We should be able to raise the money between 3 cities and entities.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
don't wait, don't take it for granted. Like I said,
do it now.
everything, and if you give $25 or more, there's some swag and some recognition that they'll give you. But we'll take $5, $10, $15. We had over 2,000 people donate nominal amount of money to help us reach our goal for both Boy and Bear
That's how we did
and
the,
the Red Bull Park.
And someone did post it, I think it was the city of Southfield posted in Facebook, and you were able to share it. So if they could do it again and put the link to
Right.
donate, that would be great.
Right. I had my mic off, but again, emphasizing $5, $10, $15. If you start giving 25 and more, there's donor appreciation, recognition, or gifts, or swag. And, I would just encourage people not to wait to the last minute. I had to sweat out Red Pole Park. We needed a donor on the very last day to reach our goal. Now, afterwards, we got more money, but once the campaign ends, if you don't meet your goal, you don't get the $50,000. So it's really free money, if you look at it, that they're willing to match dollar for dollar if we meet our goal. And the fact that we're a redevelopment-ready community makes us eligible for this crowdfunding. So unless there's any other questions,
this is really good.
and if you need more printed up, our office can help.
I'll print some up
Okay.
in my building.
And I assume there's nothing we need to approve.
Nope, I just wanted to bring it up as under additional information. I think technically, you've got, I don't know if there's any updates on the minutes.
No,
You have to
Last week.
call for public
And this is the call for the public hearing?
Public
Public
comment.
comment? There is no one in the audience. Public comment is therefore closed.
And as far as council updates, Barkside Dog Bar was approved and approved. And then new foster care was approved and introduced Monday night. So they should be hopefully enacted at the next regular meeting. You
And
had
we
a question?
mentioned here that we-
When,
Did you have a question or comment?
yeah, I was going to ask, when was the city council going to address that, or did they already?
What's that?
The foster care.
That was Monday night.
So they did approve it?
Yes,
Good.
yes, at about 20 to 10.
Oh, my gosh.
Do we need to comment on the fact that we will have a new fire chief or fire chief?
Did we
I
get-
think they're still interviewing.
Yeah,
Yeah, the deputy is acting chief,
Yeah.
but he declined consideration for the chief itself. So I know that Mr. Zorn and others have been in the process of doing interviews over the last week or two. And then we've got some upcoming planning commission meetings. On the 9th, which is a cow, or our study, I do want to spend a little time just addressing what's appropriate to bring up and what's not, and just some protocols with the commission, especially when we have public and public hearings.
Mhm.
So Tom and I are going to, whatever else we're going to be studying, we'll add that to the end when we have a little more time to talk about those things. And then the long-range study meeting may or may not be held depending on if we've got any new initiatives, and then we'll be back for the regular meeting on April 30th.
Are there any other comments from anyone or thoughts?
Yes, I have a question. Has the joint meeting between the planning commission and the city council been scheduled?
It has not been scheduled yet, but Mr. Payson and I have talked about it, and it's just finding a time that works after the budget adoption process. But I'll bring this. I'll make a note about it again.
Thank you. The time is 8:11 and the meeting is adjourned.